So, my name is Denzel Banks, and I'm writing this book, or wrote this book called The Prince of Peace and Mr. Hammers. But I'm thinking about changing the title called 1K. So, at this point in the book, I'm 85% done with the book at this point. But I just want to go ahead and just read this part in the book because I think this is. I thought it was cool, but here it goes. Alright, so the one place each inmate told me to stay away from was 1K in Westchester County Department of Corrections. As my hands and feet were shackled, I held my head low as five correction officers escorted me to my new cell unit. Growing up in Westchester County, everyone knew that this jail was considered a cakewalk, but this is not the case. Each day has been nothing short of an ongoing nightmare. It's almost as if I'm in my own Cold War. Everyone here is out to bring me harm. How could I, of all people, get sent to the Gangland Cycle Unit? Don't worry, Banks. You're not in any trouble, the CO told me as he escorted me to cell 2. The door slowly closed behind me, and the COs asked me to put my hands through the hole in the door to unlock the cuffs in my hands, followed by the shackles on my feet. As the correction officers walked away, I immediately walked around my cell to examine it for the following message. I lifted the mattress to my bed. Three items were left there by the person before me. One was a completed intake sheet. The other was a small medicine cup with a clear residue cream with slight traces of hair. I could not figure out what it meant, but something was grotesque about it. Finally, there was a blue blanket that the previous inmate tied up in a cape. The past 3.5 weeks, that was the first time I've smiled and chuckled to myself. The tears rolled down my newly acquired stone face as I gazed out my gated window. I stared at each inmate who walked by my cell, studying each face. The fear in everyone's eyes kept adding fuel to my anger. The stress I was suffering from made me delusional with the lack of sleep. The following person walked by my cell and said, "Percy, is that you?" I cracked a slight smile at the familiar face and walked up to the cell door to talk to my old acquaintance from high school. "Dorian? Yo, what the fuck happened? You of all people should not be in here. What did you do to get in here even though it's good to see you?" I responded to him and told him betrayal with no feeling in my voice. I could see the tears well up in his eyes as he fixed his posture before speaking. I could tell that he did not want to see me become the person he sees in front of him today. "Banks, going forward, make sure that you observe and speak as little as you can for the next couple of days." "Dorian, I'm no bitch. I have hands to take care of any problems," I replied. Dorian replied, "I know we had our differences in high school on the football field, but this is not the place. I do not care if you're the greatest fighter in the world. You have to understand that it takes a second to end it all." I told him, "I've heard the horror stories about what goes on here in Attica, New York. I'm not going to let anyone take advantage of my kindness." Dorian replied. "Have you ever been to Attica?" Replied, "No, no, no." Okay. At this point, Dorian's demeanor completely changed as he spoke to me. "You've only heard stories about Attica, but I've been there for several years. Out there, inmates get killed regularly for stepping out of line. The COs broke three of my ribs, and I'm sure you know what happens to snitches." I could see in his eyes that he was saying was more a plea to me than a warning. It seems as if he wanted to say more, but he didn't for whatever reason. I looked at him as I started to tear up, saying, "This place is making me into something I had no intentions on being." Dorian, Dorian could hear my voice cracking as I told him that I took off my shirt in less than a second and instantly snapped back to the new version of me as I told him, "However, I hear what you're saying, but I have to find a way to make it out of this jail in one piece." I put back on my shirt as I reverted to the old self and told him, "I need help." Dorian analyzed my body language and said, "Don't worry, Banks. We're going to get you back to normal, bro. Oh, and by the way, in here, my name is Mr. Hammers." His eyes shifted to the left and shifted to the right as he proceeded to tell me, "Here in 1K, you cool with everyone in here." Hammers did not say anything else to me as he walked off. I walked back to bed, took the tied up cape under my mattress, and put it on my neck. I left the grotesque medicine cup under my bed and lay down on my bed. I sat there and stared at the ceiling as I had to process everything that had happened in the past 3 months. Yeah, and that's it for that. But here's a little bit more. So this is going back to the beginning of the book now. This is chapter 2. On a gloomy November day, I sat there 10 minutes before I had to appear in court for my first violation of probation. That day, I did not worry about the word, the world, and neatly wrote out what I would say to the judge and my attorney once I saw her. I wrote my notes down strictly as followed. I completed 97% of probation time without being violated. I'll do this shit later on. But you get the gist of it. I don't feel like reading this shit. But, yeah. How do you go back real quick? I'm not re-recording this. Alright, done.